guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. Really excited about today's episode. For the first time, my inquisitive nature has led me to thoughtfully and strategically choose the card that we're going to look at today. In episode number 24, we are going to look at the 1984 Star number 101 that you see on your screen. I started doing a deep dive, and it was unrelated. I didn't even plan to use this card in an episode, and as you know, every one of my episodes is featured an insert or a parallel. This is actually a base card, and it's not even from the 90s, so it's for two reasons, something new for our Explore the Card episodes. I started doing a deep dive into just how rare it is, what the significance of it was, how legitimate were the concerns about counterfeiting and fakes and reprints and all this other stuff. I see the violent nature of disagreement between what is the true rookie card, and you have your 86 Fleer proponents, and then you have your 1984 Star 101 proponents. And then, between those two, the Star people say we came first, and the 86 Fleer people say you weren't even pack pulled. And that's really the extent of my knowledge. I always treated the 86 Fleer as the true rookie card, but it led me to dig a little bit deeper because in this hobby, I'm always trying to educate myself. I want to know what's going on. I want to know why. I don't want to just pick and choose and then figure it out later. I want to know exactly why. Why is this the XRC and not the true rookie card? Or why is the 86 Fleer his rookie card when it's 3 or 4 years after he's been in the league? So that's what led me to doing this episode on this 1984 base card, the 1984 Star number 101. All right, guys, so like we always do with our Explore the Card episodes, we always start with the foundation, right? The set that the card emanates from. So today we're going to talk about not just the 1984 Star base regular set, cards number 1 through 275, but we're actually going to talk about the entire history of the Star Company, where it started, what are some concerns, what it consists of, which Jordan cards are included therein. So this is going to be a little bit broader and maybe even a little bit longer video with a little bit more research than normal. But first, let's start talking about the history of the Star Company. So Topps had the exclusive license to produce basketball cards all through the 70s, I think from 69 with Kareem's rookie year or Lou Alcindor's rookie year, all the way through the 70s and Dr. J and Gervin and Malone and all those guys, through 1980 with the famous Magic Bird rookie card on the triplicate, including the very condition-sensitive 1981 set. And then Topps' license with the NBA came to a screeching halt because they decided not to renew it. The NBA did not drop Topps for another company. Topps literally found that there was no demand for basketball cards and chose to cease its relationship with the NBA. So they relinquished that license, and in 1982, no NBA cards, no licensed NBA cards at all were produced due to a lack of interest. That's just baffling to me, as nuts as the hobby is today, that in 1982, there are no cards. You will not find a 1982 NBA basketball card out there to the best of my knowledge. Please comment below if I'm missing something here, but it's my understanding that no production company, no card manufacturing company had that license. And so no rookie year cards for Dominique, for James Worthy, for Isaiah Thomas. These are all, first ballot Hall of Fame guys. These are all top 75 guys. No 1982 rookie cards for any of those three guys, amongst other great players. In comes the Star Company, right? A guy named Robert Levin in Philadelphia comes in and says, I'll take that gauntlet, and he picks it up. He petitions the NBA to get the manufacturing license for NBA basketball cards, and they strike a deal up. The Star Company was not a humongous company like Topps or Fleer or Donruss or Upper Deck or Panini. Honestly, it sounds to me, and I don't have all of the details, but it sounds to me like it was this dude, Robert Levin, and then tens of employees, not hundreds or thousands. And they did not even have their own manufacturing company. So they picked up the production in 1983. They did not have a factory. They used two print shops somewhere near the New Jersey and Pennsylvania border. Little known fact, a lot of people don't know this, Star also had a license with baseball to produce Major League Baseball cards. So they also produced produced Major League Baseball cards, which is really odd. But ultimately what ends up happening is Star comes in to pick up where Topps left off, and then Star transitions. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. They transition NBA card production. They transition all the way through to 1986 Fleer. So Star was kind of those forgotten years right in between. They essentially bridged the gap between 81 Topps and 1986 Fleer. So Star cards were actually distributed a little bit differently than what we were accustomed to. I'm 47 years old, so I was accustomed to walking into a convenience store or even a card shop or a Target or a TGNY or whatever you called it back then, what we call it today, Walmarts and Targets. And I would buy a pack, and then the cards would be randomly inserted in the packs, and who you got, you got. Star cards were a little bit different for those of you who don't know. And again, I'm preaching here to those that might be new to the hobby or just unfamiliar with the Star company, generally speaking. I know a lot of you already know this, but I want to start from the ground up. Star cards were distributed in something called polybags. So they were distributed in team sets and or subsets, right? So you might buy the Chicago Bulls team set. It would come in a little poly bag with 10 or 12 cards, and it would be all the Chicago Bulls. And so it saved you the trouble of trying to put sets together and whatnot. It actually came in a little team set. There were also subsets. The very first set ever produced by Star was a 32 card 1983 All-Star Game subset. So it was only participants of the 1983 All-Star Game. That was the very first set ever produced by Star in the year 1983. These poly bags were distributed through hobby shops like we were accustomed to. Mail order, you could actually order them over the phone and have them shipped to your house. They were promoted through arena promotions and sold at NBA arenas, and then other methods as well. It's believed that that first Star set from 1983, that 32 card All-Star subset, had the highest print run of any Star company set ever made. Okay, approximately 12,000 of those 32 card subsets were made. So that is supposed to be the highest print run of all time. I think it's widely accepted that it was for any Star company set, base set, or subset. Their first regular base set, right? And this is where we start getting into the nitty gritty. The first ever full base set was 1983 Star, and it was a 275 card set. That first year of 83 Star did not feature Michael Jordan, but it did feature the XRC, or if you're a big Star proponent, the true rookie card for many fantastic players throughout history. So let's get into the nitty gritty of grading cards. As we all know, the hobby changed a lot. When grading came around, PSA came into the mix, SGC was grading vintage cards. Beckett was, first these Star cards were graded by PSA, right? So PSA was grading these Star cards, but in 1991, they chose to stop grading those cards, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. Beckett was taught to grade these cards and authenticate Star cards by a guy named Steve Taft. He never worked for BGS or any other grading company. He simply advised and consulted and trained Beckett graders to grade these cards. Beckett began grading Star cards in 2008. Before Beckett graded these cards in 2008, PSA was grading these cards way back in the 80s and very early 90s. In addition, SCD and GAI were also trained to grade these cards, and they have graded Star cards in the past, so you may see these cards in an SCD slab or a GAI slab. It doesn't mean they're fake cards, it just means those companies no longer grade them, and you're looking at a card that was slabbed and authenticated a very long time ago. So anyway, getting back to PSA. PSA stopped grading these cards in 1991 over concerns of authenticity and an overabundance of counterfeits, right? So there was three types, I've got on the screen two types, but there's really three types of counterfeit cards, right? There's something called the Type 2 counterfeits, okay? Type 2 counterfeits were stolen by a former print shop employee. Remember, Star did not have their own manufacturing company. So this was an employee of the print shop that Star used to print their cards. So an employee of that print shop swiped a bunch of cards and then released them to the public, right? Those are called Type 2 counterfeits. Those Type 2 counterfeits do not include the star Michael Jordan number 101 that we're discussing today. So that is very, very important to remember. For many, many years, there was some confusion in the hobby. People were confounded and under the presumption that there's tons and tons of fake star 101s out there. There might be, but they did not come from this print shop, this rogue print shop employee who stole all that stuff from the print shop and then released them to the public and tried to make a killing. Okay, that's counterfeit type number 1. Counterfeit type number 2 are cards that were sold in the shop at home scandal. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. The shop at home scandal occurred in 1997 when Robert Levin, yes, you remember the guy that founded the Star Company itself, obviously had fallen on hard times. And in 1997, Robert Levin decided that he was going to start reprinting Star cards. So he started reprinting cards that looked sort of like the original Star cards, but these were not reprints from the original printing plates, right? So they're not perfect replicas or a reprinting of cards that existed in the past from 83 to 86. He started printing these cards in 1997 at a print shop somewhere in Florida. So not in the original print shops either in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. These were in Florida, and he started selling these 1997 printed cards on the home channel. But what he did is he backdated these cards. He made it appear that these cards were from 1985 and 86. And so he would claim that these cards, these shop at home scandal cards, were originally licensed and produced in 1985 and 86, but they were never released to the public. So he gave the impression that these cards were extremely rare. He claimed that there were only 1,500 sets made, and they were held in his safe all the way back from 1985 until now, where he was trying to sell them on something called Shop at Home, right? It's one of those online, buying deals, right? So he was basically a telemarshal or whatever you want to call it. So he was trying to sell these 1997 printed cards backdated to 85, 86. And so that's the second type of counterfeit. Now, shop at home cards are not reprints. Like we said, they don't look like the original Star cards. They sort of resemble them, but they don't look like them. There's a lot of really, honestly, not so subtle differences. The borders may be different colors. The font used was different. The shape of the cards, the back of the cards was different. They were sets that never even existed between 83 and 86. So the one way to tell whether or not you have a shop at home channel card you're looking at or an original 1983 through 86 original actual Star produced card is whether or not your set is listed in Beckett. If the set that you're looking at for that card is not listed in the Beckett price guide, then it is not an original Star 1983 through 1986 set. It's one of those shop at home scandal sets. At some point, Steve Taft picked up on this. He picked up on this around, I think, 1991, 92. The NBA actually sued Levin and shut all of this shop at home scandal down. The NBA was awarded a $1 million judgment. People still list these shop at home scandal cards as super rare and hard to find, which is an absolute misnomer. So please be careful when you're buying Star cards. I rarely give advice and tell people what to buy. In this case, I'm not telling you to never buy raw Star cards. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you to do one of two things. Number one, either over-educate yourself, right? I've spent about 10, 12 hours researching for this video just because I want to know for my own purposes, because I need to start picking up some of these Star cards. I feel like there's a void in my collection. So one, over-educate yourself on what the releases were, what the original cards look like, how to spot fakes, how to spot type 2 counterfeits, how to spot shop at home scandal counterfeits, or just buy the BGS graded cards, right? If they're graded by BGS, then they're probably authentic. I'm not saying that no counterfeit cards made their way into BGS slabs. I'm just saying you're going to drastically reduce the risk of buying a counterfeit. So it's widely accepted, and it almost makes perfect common sense that Star and Robert Levin did not have the ability to reprint its original cards. And the way I look at it, and I've gathered this from a bunch of different sites on the internet, is if he had the ability to reprint the Star Jordan 101, then why the hell would he be reprinting some other cards from 1985, 86? If he was hard up for cash and he just wanted to get over and he was willing to break the law and commit a crime, which he clearly was, he would have just reprinted the Jordan if he had the original Jordan printing plate. He clearly did not, and it's pretty much now a widely accepted principle that Star did not have the ability to reprint the original 101 Jordan card. Otherwise, Levin would have done that with his crooked shop-at-home business. If the set's not listed in Beckett, it's not original. Just kind of keep that in mind, guys, please. So you've heard me mention the name Steve Taft. Who the heck is Steve Taft? Who is this guy? Why is he important? Why is he relevant in history? And how does he pertain, or how does he become involved and relevant in the Jordan Star number 101 that we're talking about today? And again, I'm off topic, but I wanted to give you guys a firm foundation so we can kind of eliminate some of the concerns and some of the fear about buying star cards in general. Because I'll be honest, I had some fear of buying star cards because I just didn't want to dip my toe in the water, because I had heard so many untruths, old wives' tales and stories about how many fake ones there are, and I can't tell what's real, and I didn't educate myself. So I decided to do that, and here we are. So simply put, Steve Taft is the number one absolute 100% guru on all things Star Company. He was a Star Company dealer for way back in 1983. He ordered 50 sets of that original 32 card 1983 All-Star subset that we talked about a few minutes ago. He has bought and sold and intricately and in great detail studied Star cards for almost 40 full years. He bought 4 cards in 1992 that seemed a little bit different. He bought these from a seller. He looked at the cards. He's like, these cards don't quite look like the other cards that I've bought and that I've dealt with over the past decade. He sent them in to get graded. While they were being graded, he started doing some research and digging, and he came to the conclusion those cards were fake. Well, in the meantime, the card came back from PSA and it was graded a 9. And again, this is when PSA was grading those cards. He reached out to PSA and let them know that they just graded a fake card. He tried to explain to them why. This is when he also went to the NBA and he shared his research and his findings with the hobby about how to spot these fake cards. But during the time that the card was at PSA, he concluded before the card came back that it was a fake card. PSA at that point decided, we're no longer going to grade star cards. So somewhere around 91, 92, PSA said, we're out. There's too much risk. We don't understand it. Taft reached out to them, tried to explain to them that they could, identify fake cards based on his research and his diligent efforts. He had come to the terms, and he was comfortable identifying what's real and what's fake, and he was welcome PSA to join him, come see what I've found. Educate yourselves, PSA. You don't have to stop grading the cards. Here's how you can identify shop-at-home scandal cards and type 2 counterfeits. PSA said, no thanks. So he's also reached out, Steve Taft has reached out in recent years to contact PSA about this and SGC about this to try to get them. He loves star cards. He wants them involved. A lot of star collectors now are at the point where there's some kind of animosity among star collectors with PSA. So the hell with them, and they'd rather just keep their cards in BGS slabs. But PSA and SGC, as of yet, to date, have rejected getting their graders trained by Steve Taft to grade their star cards. So Taft has gone on record stating that the biggest fear, the single biggest fear preventing PSA and SGC from starting to grade those star cards again is fear. Fear is the single biggest factor. They don't want to jump back in. They're still concerned about authenticating those cards and accidentally grading counterfeits like they got burned with in 1991. Taft says that those fears and risks can be put to the side with education and understanding. And he's actually got a training manual that he has shared with BGS and their graders over the decades, kind of showing them how to identify these cards. And from what I understand, again, I don't own a single star BGS graded card, but from what I understand, BGS has done a bang-up job of grading these star cards with not too many concerns, at least not any more concerns than any other replicated cards that are out there. So getting back to our star number 101 Michael Jordan card, which is the focus of our video, Taft admits there may be counterfeit star number 101 cards out there, but they were never produced by Star Company or their printers, right? So he's not saying that counterfeit 101s don't exist. He's simply saying it's not a result of Star coming back a decade later and reprinting those cards, or someone stealing the original printing plates and reprinting those cards. There is a fantastic article, and I'm going to talk about some credits at the end of this video, because a lot of this information that I'm sharing with you guys today, I pulled off the internet and asked some really good questions and found some great sites and some great videos and whatnot. But there's a really great article on allvintagecards.com on how to spot a fake number 101 Jordan, okay? That's really important to keep in mind. Go check that out. It's allvintagecards.com on how to spot a fake Michael Jordan. In addition, if you want to learn more about the history of Star Company and the cards that they produce, specifically basketball cards, go to basketballgold.com. Basketballgold, like the color.com. Fantastic and valuable site. I highly suggest you read every single drop-down menu on that site, word for word, before you go buy a single Star card. It was truly an education. So let's talk about the Jordan Star cards, right? So we've talked about the history of the Star Company, where they are, where they're from, whether or not, the concern about counterfeits and fakes is a little bit overblown or not. Let's talk about the actual Jordan cards that appear that were manufactured by the Star Company. As we talked about, no cards at all for the NBA were produced in 1982, okay? In 1993, no Jordan cards were produced. They produced cards. We talked about the All-Star subset and some others, but they did not produce any Jordan cards in 83. The first Jordan card was in 1984. Jordan has 25 total cards produced by Star, right? These are actual originals, right? We're not talking about the fakes that are out there from the Shop at Home scandal and the Type 2s and all that stuff. 25 different cards that were actually produced by Star. Jordan's first year base set was 1984 Star, and that's where we see our number 101 XRC. That's his Bulls team card, right? That's the card that's recognized by the Star proponents as his true rookie card, what Beckett designates as the XRC. Number 195 Olympic and number 288 Special. So Jordan has 3 cards from that original 84 Star base set. Jordan's second year base set was 85 Star. In 85 Star base set, he has only card number 117. In 1985 Star, he also had some subsets, right? There were subsets. Remember, these cards were produced in team bags and they went out. If it was in a Bulls team bag, we just talked about it. These cards that we're about to list now from 1985 were in subsets. So you might have a team bag with, 10 different players from 10 different teams or 12 different players from 12 different teams. And these are a list of the subset cards that Jordan was featured in 1985. The number 4 Crunch and Munch All-Stars, the number 4 Star Light All-Stars, the number 7 Gatorade Slam Dunk, the number 1 Last 11 Rookie of the Years, and the number 2 All-Star Rookie Team. Jordan's second ever year of subsets was 1986. The number 18 Star Court Kings, the number 2 Star Best of the New, and then he had an entire 10 card set. So even Star was pulling a nice little panini here and realizing, hey, this kid might be a little bit special. We're going to make an entire subset of just him. So they issued a 10 card Jordan subset in 1986, issued in 1 team bag. So if you bought the bag, you got 10 Jordans in there. Sounds like a deal to me. So even back then, it sounds like Robert Levin knew that Jordan was going to be special, so he was trying to capitalize on that, creating that Jordan subset. Jordan also had what we call 5x7s. These are gigantic cards, okay? These are not your typical normal shape size that you're used to. These are huge. They're in gigantic Beckett slabs. They're really cool. They're bigger than even the Nike promo card from 1985. These things are giant. They're literally 5x7s. They are very condition sensitive, very tough to keep in good shape because they're so big. It's almost like keeping a comic book in perfect condition. So he had these 3 5x7s, the 1984 number 26 Star Court Kings, and then, believe it or not, this was actually his first ever NBA licensed Jordan card. This 1984 number 26 Star Court Kings was released before his Star number 101, something that is very rarely talked about. Then he had a 1985 number 5 Star Slam Dunk Supers, and then he had a 1985 number CB1 Star Team Supers. The last and final Jordan card was released by Star in 1990, and it was the 1986 Star Best of the Best number 9. So those are 25 cards. If you go back and count those, they'll add up to 25 cards. Those are the only originals. If you see another one that's a different color or got a different name or a different subset, it's quite likely a fake. It's quite likely not original. And like I said, if you ever have any questions, I would go to basketballgold.com or just look in a Beckett price guide, because if a Star subset is not listed by Beckett, then it is not recognized as an original Star production. All right, so let's talk about the card of the day, right? We're here to talk about the 1984 Star number 101. The number 101 was the top card of a 12-card plastic bag. So if you're pulling out this Jordan XRC, it's going to be the very top card of the poly bag. That's a red flag. That means it's going to likely, you want the card to be in the middle to protect against corners and edge wear. If the card's on the top or on the back, you run the risk that the card's corners are going to be bent and the edges are going to be frayed a little bit more. So that's condition sensitivity issue number one. The 101 was designated an XRC an XRC by James Beckett way back in the March-April issue of Beckett Basketball Card Magazine, okay, in 1990. It was designated by Beckett. He's a genius. I've listened to James Beckett talk. He's thoughtful. He's well-spoken, fantastic vocabulary, a brilliant mind, one of the founders and forefathers of the hobby. Like, everything about him reeks professionalism and brilliance. But I don't think even the great Dr. James Beckett had any idea how far-reaching that XRC designation would be on this hobby 32 years later. In 1990, he chose to put that XRC tag on that card, on this 101 card, because it was not pack pulled. And I don't think he understood just what type of effect that would have. 32 years later, there are savage arguments about what Jordan's true rookie card is. And but for that fateful day in 1990 when James Beckett pulled the trigger on the XRC, we may not be having this argument. At one point, the Star number 101 grossly outsold the 1986 Fleer. It wasn't even close. And then at some point, it flip-flopped, and a lot of people attribute that to PSA not grading it and the XRC designation and recognizing the 86 Fleer as the true rookie card. So that's where it emanated, guys. That's where it all started. That's the origin of this massive dispute, is when Beckett threw that XRC designation on that card. That caused a rift and a divide. Anyway, number 101, along with two other 84 base Jordan sets, have lots of condition issues. A couple of the issues are centering, right? In these cards, the Jordan card was, I think, the top left card on the sheets that were cut. So that's led to centering issues. They've got fish eyes. For those of you who don't know what those are, just Google it or go to Blowout Forums. They were diamond cut. For those of you who don't know what that is, we've talked about it on the channel before, but go Google it. And they were men's size. They were cut short. Up to as many as 90% of the Jordan 101s were cut short, which has led to, obviously other conditions that affects centering, number one, but it also can result in a men's size grade. Number 101, as we said, is not Jordan's first NBA licensed card. It's the 1984 Court Kings number 26 5x7. The number 101 was, however, the first NBA licensed team issued card in a base set. And so those Star proponents, it's not that simple. 86 Fleer people say, well, ours is pack pulled, ours is the real. And the Star people say, ours was his first NBA card. That's not correct. It was not his first NBA card. It was his first normal sized NBA licensed card in a base set. 5x7 was actually the first card ever released. So the distinction there being the card was released in a base set. The 101 was, the 5x7 was not. People often criticize the picture chosen for Jordan's greatest Star card, right? We looked at the picture, we saw it. Usually Jordan's flying through the air, dunking a ball or shooting a fadeaway or driving to the goal or something like that. Believe it or not, Star was new. They didn't have a lot of money. They were close to New Jersey, so they went to get many of the pictures for their player cards from New Jersey Nets home games. Is that crazy? They didn't have the capacity, the infrastructure, or the bank to fly all around the country and get lots of good pictures of Jordan. So they just snagged a picture from now again, I'm assuming Jordan probably dunked the ball at some point in that New Jersey Nets game because that's what he did, right? Or he shot a fadeaway at some point, or he drove to the rack. But they chose to take a picture of Jordan rebounding the ball fundamentally with two hands and coming down with it. Many of Star's pictures were taken at New Jersey Nets home games. They didn't have an abundance of photo options to choose from in those early years. So if you kind of pay really close attention to those Star cards, you're going to see a lot of them featuring New Jersey Net players in the background or players from nearby cities because they weren't spending a whole chunk of change, traveling around the country to get great pictures. Can you imagine back then using that picture, Robert Levin and the crew at Star probably had no concept, no idea whatsoever. Remember, they're making cards a year after Topps decided nobody wants this crap. Nobody wants basketball cards. So I don't think it ever entered Star's mind, hey, we're putting a picture on one of the probably 5 most iconic basketball cards that will ever be made in the history of our hobby that's going to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars one day. They probably didn't give the picture that much thought. They just snagged a nice picture that was clean and crisp and they threw it on there. And as it stands, it's Jordan rebounding a basketball. What's really ironic is that 86 Fleer, right? So Fleer comes in 1986, yanks it back from Star, and they get the NBA license. The 86 Fleer stole many of the Star Company photos. They used them in the 1986 Fleer set. Believe it or not, Johnny Moore, Larry Nance, Patrick Ewing, all of those pictures were stolen from the Star Company. I shouldn't say stolen, they were reproduced, whatever. They took pictures from prior existing Star cards and slapped them on an 86 Fleer card. I guess they probably had the license to do that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a litigation attorney or a patent attorney or copyright attorney, so I'm not sure. But they did take those pictures. How many 101s were printed? Robert Levin claims that there's 4,000. Again, I don't think anybody's going to believe a known criminal who reprinted those cards in that shop at home scandal, but it's believed that some were destroyed. A safe estimate of the number of 101s out there in existence in the wild is 3,000 to 6,000. That's what I guess most well-founded observations after diligent research, and that's what Taft seems to think. It's somewhere between 3,000 and 6,000. I know that's a big gap, but that's the number. That's the safe cast net for how many were produced. As many as 90% of them were cut short, as we talked about. So, out of that 3,000 to 6,000, you got to remember condition sensitivity is a real big issue. The number 101 is located in the top of the card sheet, like we talked about, which led to significant centering issues, and it often displays diamond cut problems. Ultimately, Star proponents allege that this number 101 card is Jordan's true rookie card, and they are vehement about this, right? It is almost cultish how steadfast they are in their assertion that this card, the number 101, is Jordan's true rookie card, because a player's rookie card is his first appearance on a card licensed by the NBA and part of a regular base set. That's the definition of true rookie card according to Star proponents. And if that's the definition, then you know what? They're right. This is Jordan's first rookie card on a card licensed by the NBA and part of a regular base set. They do not include the words pack pulled anywhere in that definition. And that's how we got to where we are today. Now, let's take a close look, as we always do, at the 1984 Star pop and prices and historical prices. Okay, I've got our typical pops and prices chart pulled up on the screen. I've chosen the BGS 9, the BGS 8, the BGS 7, and the BGS 6. None of these are cheap cards, even the BGS 6, as you can see on your screen, but this is what we've got to work with. As you can see, it's all BGS, right? Because BGS is who we're looking at today. PSA cards do exist, fellas. They do exist. Some of these cards were graded, these 101s were graded by PSA before they shut it down in 1991-92 after Steve Taft alerted them to the potential for counterfeits. So some of those exist. Also some SCD and some GAI exist. But today we're going to talk about BGS because the preponderance of 101s have been graded by BGS, and it's the most commonly traded and sold and bought within the market. So 1,072 total have been graded. Let that sink in. Graded, right? That's not the pop. That's the total amount that have ever been graded by BGS. There are 3 BGS 9.5s. We'll talk about those in a second. Again, 1,072 have been graded, but my question is, how many of these, just like the 86 Fleer 57, how many of these Star 101s do you think were cracking resubs where the population report was not adjusted? Comment below. Let me know what you think, but I'd be shocked if 20% of these 1,072 weren't cracked and resubbed again, or cracked and resubbed again. It might not even be that much. Like we talked about, we think that somewhere between 3,000 and 6,000 were made. Robert Levin alleges 4,000 were made, but out of these 1,072 graded, who knows how many are actually out there? I can tell you one thing, it ain't 1,000. I know there's not 1,000 of them out there in BGS slabs, because at least 72 of them have been cracked and resubbed. I bet you it's hundreds that have been cracked and resubbed. That's just my guess. Call me crazy. Let me know in the comments what you think. But as you can see, grading a BGS 9 just mint is very difficult. As we talked about, all this, the condition sensitivity issues with the fisheyes, the centering, the diamond cuts, and the short size. Only 7% of the 1,072 have been awarded that BGS 9 grade. The last one sold for $192,000. 6 of them have sold in the last month for an average of right at 100 grand. Again, it's about half of what it was at the highest sale, but that is pretty typical of the market. There's a lot of adjustments going on, even on these high-end cards from the first quarter of 2021. Card is actually up 76% in the last 6 months. So it's definitely hit the floor and then rebounded and started to charge again. Believe it or not, 4 Star 101 BGS 9s have been added to the pop report just in the last calendar year. So that was surprising to me. 4 have been added to the pop report in the last calendar year. BGS 8s starting to get a little bit higher pop here, right? So this is the BGS 8, 7.5, 8, and 8.5 are the most common, kind of the sweet spot. 70.5% of all of the BGS graded Star 101 cards are 7.5, 8, or 8.5. So that's kind of your sweet spot, right? That's kind of like your PSA 7s and PSA 8s of the 1986 Fleer. But if we look at the BGS 8, unlike the PSA 8, this card has sold for $55,200 at one point. The last one sold for $24,000. It is 5 of them have sold in the last 6 months, and the average sale price is about $21,000. That's an 18% jump, and 26, believe it or not, have been added in the last year. We've got our BGS 7 and BGS 6 on the screen as well. You can check out those below, those numbers. Even a BGS 6, you're looking at about a $10,000 card. So you're looking at about a 5-figure card, even in a BGS 6 slab. The most common grades, as we talked about, are 7.5 to 8.5. Unlike 1986 Fleer, there are no BGS 1s or BGS 1.5s. So there's those people out there that are collecting rainbow prisms. Well, believe it or not, there's also collectors out there who try to collect grade rainbows for the Jordan rookie card. And so you'll see people out there with 1986 Fleer 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3, all the way up to 10, right? Well, you can't do that with the Star 101 because there are no BGS 1s or 1.5s. There are also no BGS 10s or BGS black labels, thank God. Can you imagine how much that card would be worth if it was a BGS 10 or a black label? As we said, there's 3 BGS 9.5s. No one has sold one on the open market on a public forum, auction house, eBay, or otherwise for 7 years. Let me know in the comments what you think that card would be worth. Card Ladder assigns a Card Ladder predicted value, and I must say, I respectfully, vehemently disagree and think it would go for significantly more than they allege in their predicted value. There's 322 BGS 8.5, 9s, and 9.5s, okay? So stay with me here. If we look at these, 9.5s, 9s, and 8.5s, there's 322. That is almost exactly the same number of 1986 Fleer PSA 10s. That's evidence number one of just how much more rare this 84 Star number 101 is than the 1986 Fleer number 57. The combined BGS 9.5 and PSA 10 Fleer 57 is 531 and 319. So there's 850 gem mint copies of the 1986 Fleer. There's only 1,072 Star that have ever even been graded. And it's more likely, about 850 when you consider the crack and resubs. So really let that sink in. There's 850 gem mint 86 Fleer 57s out there, and there are probably somewhere around 850 Star 101s of any grade in BGS slabs, if you consider the crack and resubs. That's my assertion. That's not based on facts or anything like that. That's just me assuming that maybe 15-20% of these have been cracked and resubbed, especially the low graded ones. The 1986 Fleer number 57 has been graded 12,754 times by BGS. The 1986 Fleer 57 has been graded 23,411 times by PSA. That same card has been graded 2,716 times by SGC. The total number of graded 86 Fleer Jordan rookie cards by those big 3 companies is 38,881. That is 36 times as many graded Fleer as Star. Let that sink in. 36 times as many. Another way of looking at it, there are 2.7% as many graded 101s as there are 86 Fleer by those three companies. And that does not include all the other BS companies like HGC or HGA, CGC, GAI, BCCG, and all that stuff. 2.7% as many Star 101s as 86 Fleer. It's also safe to assume there will be many more 1986 Fleer 57s submitted in the future, as we see raw cards all the time. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been on the Facebook page for 86 Fleer with somebody saying, is this real or fake? And it's probably a real, Jordan raw rookie card. That pop will continue to grow. The 10s may not grow because it sounds like PSA has the 10s on lockdown, but the number of graded 1986 Fleer cards will probably continue to grow at a greater clip than the 1984 Star number 101 total graded cards will grow. The ultimate conclusion, and this is what I'm getting at, is that by 80s standards, and even really by today's standards, the Star number 101 is an extremely, extremely rare card. And while the demand for this card doesn't meet the same demand for the 1986 Fleer number 57, the supply is astonishingly lower. And there is a history and there is a purpose to this card, and it is a special card, and you don't have to choose one or the other. Each of them has their place in the hobby. Each of them has their faction of extremely passionate collectors who support the 101 or support the 86 Fleer as their true Jordan rookie card. I fit somewhere in the middle. I'll be the first one to tell you. I have at one point had 50 1986 Fleer Jordan rookie cards, including the stickers. Now I'm down significantly less. I have cashed out on some of those. The only Jordans that I have now, I have, 6. I have a PSA 10 sticker and base. I have 2 PSA 9 sticker and base. I have 3 PSA 8 sticker and base. So those 12 cards are all parts of sets. I think that's where I'm confident. Actually, I do have one more BGS 9 that I am trying to sell right now, so feel free to message me or DM me, Cajun Cardboard on Instagram. But the ultimate conclusion is the 84 Star number 101 is significantly more rare than the Fleer number 57 by anybody's standards, especially in high grades. Okay guys, that just about wraps it up. I'm sorry this video went so long, but I thought it was really important to really take a deep dive in the history of the 1984 Star number 101 card and sort of dispel some of those misconceptions and untruths that have been spread about the card. I'll be honest with you, I've always been a proponent of 86 Fleer as the true rookie card because it was pack pulled. But again, that's not dispositive of the issue. This 1984 Star number 101 card has a fascinating place in the hobby, and as you can see from the history, it's been a real up and down history with some crazy undulations in value, and it's almost perceived in the hobby that you're one or the other. You're either this is his rookie card or this is his rookie card. I don't really have a problem. I could care less. I'll let the hobby decide. It's been 40 years and we're still sitting here arguing about who's, Star or Fleer, which one's the true rookie card. The hobby's ultimately going to dictate that. So I am a huge proponent of both. At the current time, I own a bunch of 86 Fleer, but I do not own a single 84 Star 101. And I'll be honest with you, the reason was fear. So just like PSA is afraid to grade it, I was afraid to buy it. But it wasn't well-founded. I don't think my fear was well-founded. I think I can safely enter the Star 101 Jordan market and look for, a pretty decent graded copy because I think this card's got room to go from an investment standpoint. I think it's always going to be super significant as Jordan's first ever regular base set team NBA licensed, issue. So for that reason, I'm definitely a buy. We always talk about am I a buy, a sell, or a hold. I can't sell or hold because I don't own the card. I am a buy. I'm not sure what grade I'll be looking at, but the higher the better. It will take some moving around to put finances together to make that move. But I would like to one day post a picture on Instagram with an 86 Fleer and a Star right next to it, and and kind of bring those two factions together. I do think that anybody who's was a strong proponent of 86 Fleer being the true rookie card, like I am, at least do some research and dig. Go to some of these websites like allvintagecards.com or basketballgold.com. and just read and just enjoy and just dive in and hope to come to a better understanding of the origin and the history of this 1984 Star 101 Jordan card that James Beckett infamously tagged as the XRC. So that about does it for the video, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this is educational. Again, I do apologize for being so long. I just felt like it was a really important episode because there really is a lot of confusion and murky stuff out there in the hobby about this particular card and about star cards in general. After doing about 10-12 hours of research, I feel a lot more comfortable kind of dipping into the star market. Some of the cards are fascinating and they're really cool looking to me, and they almost bridge that gap between vintage and modern. Like Star bridged that gap between 81 Tops and 86 Fleers. So thank you guys for watching. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think is the true Jordan rookie card. Is it as simple as first card versus pack pulled? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm overcomplicating things. Again, I'm always transparent. I own a bunch of 86 Fleer. So... but I'm very open and very adamant that maybe at the National, I'm going to try to pick up a 1984 Star number 101 Jordan card to add to my collection, because I do feel like there's a void there, and I feel like that void needs to be filled. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Keep collecting. Stay positive in the hobby, and peace.